Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to another episode of XS Gaming Podcast. We're feeling fine on episode 149. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and join with me is the Postmaster, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Yeah, Christmas time is here. I'd sing it like the Peanuts, but I just can't get that high right now. I'm too gravelly and tired, but 'tis the season, as they say, and I hope you all aren't banging your head against a wall like I am, but things are just going crazy, I'm sure, at many people's jobs, especially at mine. Things are just going crazy, but we're trying to just make it through this month. We're trying to make it through this year and just see what it holds. But I hope you all are doing well, no matter, what job or what you're doing right now. I hope you're good.
Indeed, indeed. And I do have a special announcement. Today is the 6th of December that we're recording this. And I want to wish my girlfriend, Kimberly, I want to wish her a very happy birthday. She's at work right now. And I told her, I was like, I want to tell everyone on the podcast that it's your birthday. But yet today is her birthday. And also, rest in peace, Awada. It's also his birthday as well, which is ironic that we're going to be talking about the Gamecube in this episode.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Somebody, was it Chris Aubyn's birthday too?
Yes.
I saw, yeah, lots of
happy birthday all the way from Canada. Indeed, indeed. And yeah, we've had a couple of gaming news things happen. I think one of the most exciting things that I wanted to talk about is with the Xbox Series X, a YouTuber named Modern Vintage Gamer, really good channel, has shown that the Xbox Series S has developer mode that you can boot a variety of emulators, including supporting PS2, Dreamcast, Gamecube, and Wii games. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it is. I've kind of been on the loop of like many things. Of my brother had sent me a text about that, and like after like a day or so, I got a chance to look at it, and I was like, huh. And then I started hearing more about it, and I'm like, man, it's really cool, because we do support emulation and things like that for a lot of these systems, and to have that on a newer one, you know, and almost part of me is a little bit leery, how long is that going to stay around? Like, is that going to be able to stay on there? Are there any legal issues? Is something going to happen?
I was going to say, apparently you could do it on the Xbox One as well. Like, I didn't know that. I don't know what the emulation would be on, the last gen, like Xbox One. Xbox One X is probably the best bet if you're going to do a lot of emulation on it because it's a more powerful console. But I'm wondering if this is going to, kind of sway people towards the Series X. I know for me personally, it seemed a little bit more attractive when I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, if I get a Series X, I can also emulate PS2, Dreamcast, and GameCube and Wii games, which, I can do right now. But, once you get into the emulation and once you get into that sort of thing, like the more you can use those resources on other platforms, the better. Like, because I can use my phone to emulate. I use my Amazon Fire tablet for emulation when I'm at work. I got some PS1 games on it and Dreamcast games. And of course I have the Pi and my modded Wii U. But I just, and of course my PC, I just love to have all these options to play the games that I grew up with.
And having all in one, you figure next gen or current gen, whatever gen it is, system, that has that. Because lots of times, mostly I like to think is what I want, and what most people want is anything we can cram into one thing without having to switch a wire or unplug something, because we've all got a million things plugged in the back of the TV and that giant outlet, and you're running out of room. The more you can have just in one area, truly is awesome. And it kind of makes sense because when you think about it, the original Xbox, that was the one that always got modified. Mine, that was my original thing that had all the ROMs and everything on it. You took it to the flea market, dudes hooked you up for, I don't know if it was $50 or $100 back then. It was a great, either way, it was a great deal back then. And mine could even play Sega CD games. You could pop in the disc drive. So that was the original older system that could do so much. So it really just kind of makes sense and falls into place. That it's still doing that now. And I would think too, that would be kind of attractive, to some people if you can get one. We all know they'll be available at some point. Right now, it's a little tough, and I'm sure it's a little sad if you can't get one at Christmas time, but hopefully there'll be an influx. I just always want people to be happy and get the Christmas gifts that they'd like on that day.
Yeah, I mean, of course, right now with the holiday season, the PS5 and Series X, especially the PS5, is having a huge issue with scalpers. I read an article. I tried to see if I could find it so I could find out what retailer it was, but apparently a retailer saw that someone was bragging that they bought like 1,000 Series X's or something like that to scalp, and they like canceled the whole transaction. So that was awesome. But I mean, like the way I look at scalping is, be patient. Do not be one of those people that spend, $1,200 for a console just because you want to make little Timmy happy or something like that, because that's why we have scalping. We have scalping because if you go on eBay and you look at the sold prices, it shows how much they sold for. And granted, some of these consoles that sold for $1,200 could be someone who's combating scalping by, buying it and then canceling the transaction. They could be doing that, but regardless, the average Joe is going on eBay and seeing that, this PS5 is selling for $3,000 with a couple of games. I'm going to do that too. So just don't support it. Wait. Get some more PS4 games for your kids or for yourself. Because, I mean, there's plenty of games that came out in the last 2 or 3 years that I know not everyone has had a chance to play. There's a lot of PS4 games that came out that I still want to play that I haven't played yet,
Yeah, and like you said, that's the best thing. It's like just try not to support it. I mean, I think like if you find one that's maybe like $100 overpriced, even two, and if you really want one and want to spend that, like I don't think that's that bad. Like it still sucks, but yeah, the people that double the price. It's like, please, just like don't buy into that. And like, I wish these companies would have more of these systems just available for the people, because this is a constant problem we run into is the scalping. It's just wrong.
Imagine if it was a Nintendo console. Like, oh my god, because Nintendo's already like notorious for folks scalping that.
Dude, I had a friend of mine. He was like, he can't find. He was wanting to get a Switch, and he's like, he can't find one for like less than. I don't know if he said 400 or 500, which I was like, well, still, I'm like, they're like 3, and once again, that's in that price range. It's not, that bad. Like I said, it's still bad, but and almost like I was even looking at some areas just because like I've been getting lots of overtime lately at work with everything going on, and I've just been, spending some money to make myself not so miserable. And I was looking around for, I was like, well, shit, if they got a system, like I might get. I get one, but of course, there's not one there. So I've been buying a lot of movies that I'm probably never going to have time to watch till the month is over with. But.
I know you actually sent me a movie after our last episode. I still need to watch it. Outrage,
yes.
The Way of the Yakuza, a movie that you've really amped up the last couple episodes. I think the last 3 episodes you're ending when we would finish the episodes like, go watch Outrage. So I was showing it to Kimberly. I'm like, oh man, we got to watch this, but we just haven't had the time yet.
And dude, I understand. Like I said, no offense taken. I sent one to you. I sent one to our buddy Ryan. I want to send a couple out because I knew both you guys like the Yakuza game, and like I said, I think it's a great movie because it has a lot of humor and it has a lot of things. Like if you're really into the Yakuza series, like you'll just get it, And like I said, and the director and one of the stars, he's actually in Yakuza 6. He's one of the smaller bosses in the other town. And he even had like a Nintendo game like way back. He's been around for a while, and it's a great fun series, and one day you'll get a chance to watch it, and I know you'll love it.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch it before our next episode, because our next episode I definitely want to get Ryan on, and I'm hoping that Ryan watched it too, so we could just have like a little step away from some of the game talk just for a second and kind of talk about Outrage. And I think folks that are listening who are big Yakuza fans, I think they would enjoy that too. So I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, I highly recommend the actual, Like a Dragon, the Yakuza movie for a video game movie.
It's directed by Katashi Miike.
Yeah, and it's great, man. Even like my wife liked it, but it's still not, like I said, to me, Outrage is better. So maybe even if you've seen Like a Dragon, still check out Outrage, because like I said, it's got all the humor. There's a darkness to it, and it's just very funny. And it's subtitled, but you know, like I said, I play a lot of the Yakuza games. Subtitled if I can, and so it's like I kind of used to it. But it's like you can still catch all the humor and everything in it, and it's still a great series. I started watching again myself. I watched 1 and 2, and I can't find my copy of 3, because I've only seen 3 once. I've seen the other ones multiple times because I really love it. But it's like my 3 is somewhere in my house, and I'm gonna watch it sometime too.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of movies, great segue, by the way, because I do have a couple of video game movies to mention. One, I mean, I mentioned a couple episodes ago, there is going to be another Yakuza movie. They pretty much just announced it, and that was it. But the new Mortal Kombat movie looks like it's going to be coming out in 2021. They released the new image, like the new logo for it. I think this is going to be, of course, a reboot of the Mortal Kombat movies. It's not going to be tied to the other two. And they also have a lead for Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid movie that Sony's putting out. And it's the actor, his name is slipping my mind, but he plays Bo Derek in Star Wars. Or Poe. He plays Poe. And he would make a great Solid Snake. I saw that and I'm like, oh, okay. I liked him in Star Wars. I know he's going to be in Dune soon. I still have never seen Dune, so I'm not really attached to it too much. But I'm really excited about that. Also, one more thing with Mortal Kombat, they kind of tied it with the movies, is they have a new DLC for Mortal Kombat 11 called the Movie Pack, which has Raiden, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage. They're voiced by the original actors from Mortal Kombat 1, and that's what they look like. So Homeboy is being Raiden again, and he went back and recorded a bunch of new dialogue, and it's freaking awesome to see the Highlander back in Mortal Kombat.
Very interesting too. Also, you know, with movies, a lot of movies that were scheduled to come out, I don't know which companies and such, but a lot are not going to the theater. And if you have HBO Max, they're going to be going to HBO Max. They'll be in select theaters if your theaters are open in your area. But if you have HBO, a lot of these first run movies, man, they're going to be on there, and it's not a gimmick, you know, like Disney Plus, where you got to pay $30 for Mulan. They're going to be on there. Like Wonder Woman is one of them.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, but I don't know. I want to say I thought I heard it.
Yeah, it is.
Mentioned too.
So is Godzilla versus King Kong, which I'm really excited about. I think it's a great little option, especially for someone like myself who kind of grown out of going to the movie theaters. Don't get me wrong, I love the theater experience, but the last couple times I've went to movies, I've just haven't really enjoyed it as much because I've always had someone sit beside me chowing down on popcorn or Italian ice, or I have to end up moving, or, you know, you don't want to go like the midnight release show anymore because it's just so packed and people just won't shut up. I kind of like the fact that I have the choice to just get it and watch it on my 4K television in the comfort of my living room. I love that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I know you have a little bit more issues than me as far as, like, you know, the people eating. I hate people talking.
Yeah.
You know, a buddy of mine, last movie I remember seeing was the Joker, and we had we were at the very back top, if you're facing the screen, top right. We had like 2 seats next to each other. I do like the seats being more spaced out in some of these newer theaters. I like that. And like I said, we had our section together. It was just me and my friend. We, like I said, we're higher up, a little bit to the side. But that I enjoyed. You know, sometimes like daytime movies, if you get a chance to get that's a bit better. I've been to theaters before where I was the only one in there, and they actually forgot to turn the movie on. I might have mentioned that before. The dude, when I told him, he skipped the previews for me. Which
that's awesome.
Some people like previews, but I was just like, and it was like it was Ride to Hell. It was I think it was a Quentin Tarantino produced movie with like one of his buddies. Used to be in a lot of old biker movies, and it was just it was a biker movie with Michael Madsen. Dude, I was the only one in the theater, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, people do just I don't know, man. I just want to go there and watch it and just kind of like shut up. Like, I'm not trying to talk, but everybody's so hooked, you know, to their devices and phones, and it's just like it's troublesome, man. So like, I'm with you. Like, if I can, even if it's a movie I really want to see, I don't even care. Like, if I gotta pay you know, sometimes even 20, $30 could be reasonable depending on the movie, because it's like, well, you might buy some snacks in between the
Exactly.
tickets, the aggravation.
Yeah,
It's all
like
gonna
going to the
add up.
movies, going to the movies is like such an investment because I mean, of course, all of us might sneak a couple of snacks. Let's not be coy here,
Yeah,
but still, I mean, like you're gonna go and buy at least two tickets for you and whoever you want to go with. If you're not going alone, you're gonna have to get popcorn. You're gonna have to get the big ass drink. Before you know it, you spend about $50 right there off the spot. So $30 for a stream, that doesn't really bother me too much. And you were talking about that movie theater experience, made me think when I saw Force Awakens. I remember I saw Force Awakens at my local movie theater right when they opened, and it was like me and like four other people in the whole theater watching it, and it was great because all of us didn't say a single word.
nice.
When the movie was over, we all just stood up, nodded to each other, and went our separate ways. It was such like an introvert moment for Star Wars fans.
And that's the way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you can have somebody being aggravating, and you might want to say something, and sometimes you can be like, hey, and honestly, the person might not realize they're
Yeah.
being irritating, but then you say it to the wrong person, and you got somebody waiting to fucking beat your ass out in the fucking parking lot. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, like, I'm 42. Like, I don't want to get in a fight with anybody, much less over a movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would be the one that, it's like, honestly, if I get that aggravated, I'm going to get up, leave. I'm going to go to the counter. I'm going to demand my fucking money back or a free ticket or something. And then I'm just going to go on my way. But at home, like, so you can sit there. You can have a drink. You can partake in any activities you like to partake in when you're in your own home. While you watch the
Exactly.
movie. And it's great. And like I said, you might think, hey, 20, $30, that's a lot. But like we said, no, in the long run, it's not. What, popcorn's 99 cents or less at the grocery store. You're going to
Yep.
be good.
Yep. But yeah, that's really really interesting, and I think that's about it with the gaming news. I mean, a lot of stuff that people have been talking about. Of course, they're talking about Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out very soon. I'm excited for those who finally get to play it. I'm probably going to weigh it out because I'm playing too much right now. I can't imagine playing Cyberpunk at the moment. I'm still
Yeah.
chipping away at like a dragon right now.
Just jumping into some new games, like I said, at this point, and depending on many people's work schedules, like mine is, man, it's hard to fit the time in sometimes. So it's like I'm just like you. It's like I'm working on stuff I get the time to play. So I'm in no rush. But hey,
Yeah.
the people that are in a rush, I hope you get to play it.
I know, and I feel so bad because I know people personally who have spent all year requesting and de-requesting vacation off because they've just been wanting to have some time off to sit down and play the game. And I'm hoping for those who are listening that are getting Cyberpunk, I hope you guys have enough time to really sink into it. I feel like all of us deserve that kind of immersion in a game right now with all the stuff going on. I think everyone deserves it. So I'm hoping that it's good. I'm hoping that people enjoy it, and I'm hoping the wait was worth waiting for. Definitely.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention, guys, if you enjoy this podcast, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It helps the transparency of the show, helps more people find our show. And also, if you want to listen to archived episodes, you can go on youtube.com/Xander Skullion on my YouTube channel, and you can listen to archived episodes on there on my Excess Gaming playlist. Now, getting into the main topic of this show, we're going to be talking about the Nintendo GameCube. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I want to talk about the GameCube. So I like messaged James. And I'm like, hey, you want to talk about the GameCube? He's like, sure, sounds good.
Yeah,
And so,
sounds fun.
so I'm going to ask you, James, what was your first experience with the Nintendo GameCube?
From what I remember, and though this is a funny thing, I've actually never owned a GameCube. Like I have GameCube games, and when I play them, I've played them on my Wii.
Yeah.
I've actually never owned the system for some reason. And
Oh, wow.
There's been times where I've seen it, and like I've almost thought about picking one up. Like I found just the system one time it was like $10. And it's like it didn't have any cables or anything, and I was like, oh, I could get the cables. And it was like I waited. When I went back, and like it was gone. you know. But I remember, and I still am familiar with it because two of my best friends from back in the day that I'm still best friends with, they were the ones that usually got the new Nintendo systems, whether it was the 64, you know, GameCube came out, they were the two that had the GameCube. So it was either my friend Mike, my brother EJ, one of them, and like I said, well, both when it came out, got it. And it's like, I don't necessarily remember the first game I played on it. I don't know what games they got with it. But I definitely played it, you know, with them. I thought the look of the system was great. You know, seeing around that time systems, you know, like Xbox and GameCube having that 4 controller ports was really awesome. You know, definitely delving into that multiplayer before we had all the online. You know, it was always multiplayer at home, and having all those ports without having to get, you know, an extra addition, you know, to do that like you did with the PlayStation. I always thought it was really cool. And like I said, it was different. You know, we had those small discs. You know, they opted out of not having the DVD player. But still, I mean, as far as like system look, dude, like I'm honestly, like, I love it. Like, it's so small and compact, and even has a handle. Yeah,
that's what I liked about it. My experience with the GameCube was actually from my PS2 dying. My PS2, I had the fat PS2. It got where it wasn't reading disc anymore, so I was trying to get rid of it. I ended up taking it to many GameStops, because I say this because a lot of GameStops were a little smart back then, where they would try all the different discs to see if they would take it. And I had to find a GameStop where they didn't test out all the discs. I didn't care. I just wanted to get rid of it. And
it sounds bad, but we all know GameStop rips people off. So
yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. They're a multi-million corporation, so it wasn't like I was taking it to a mom and pop shop. But I took it over there, and I got the store credit, and I was going to get another PS2. But I was starting to see a lot of stuff from the GameCube. And the funny thing is like, back then, surprisingly enough, I was kind of falling out of like liking Nintendo, because I wasn't a big fan of the N64. I didn't really like it that much compared to like the PlayStation. Because back
you didn't
then,
play wrestling games.
Yeah,
there, did
yeah.
You?
The only time I played wrestling games is when I went to my friend's house, and I enjoyed those, but other than that, I was like really into JRPGs, and the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 was like the mecca of that sort of thing. But I went to a McDonald's, and I saw footage of Mario Party. I believe it was Mario Party 6. I can't remember. But I saw footage for it, and I'm like, man, that looks like a lot of fun. That's on the GameCube. So I ended up getting a GameCube at that GameStop, and I bought Luigi's Mansion and Resident Evil. And that's all it took. I was just like, man, this is freaking amazing. I love the fact that the size, that it was so small, because I used to go to my sister's a lot on the weekends, so I could just, you know, pack up my GameCube, pick it up like a freaking lunchbox, and go over there and play, you know, Smash Brothers Melee with my brother-in-law at the time. We would play until we were like falling asleep. And of course, you know, you had games like Mario Kart Double Dash and Metroid Prime. Eternal Darkness, which was just such a unique experience for any sort of survival horror fan.
Also, the first M-rated game for Nintendo.
Oh yeah, and you know I was just thinking, because I was looking at a list of GameCube games, that there was a time that Resident Evil 4 was exclusive on the Nintendo GameCube. It's so weird.
Did the same thing. I looked up a list of, you know, exclusive GameCube games, you know, to get an idea. And as I was looking, like, there was games, and I was like, man, I didn't see Resident Evil, and I was like, oh wait, I'm like, that's on everything now. So
yeah,
exclusive. But yes, there was a time, you think that amazing Resident Evil remake that is on everything now started off on the GameCube. Resident Evil 4 also on every fucking system at this point now.
I feel like the GameCube was also the first console that had, like, at the time, all the Resident Evils, because we had the Resident Evil 1 remake that people now know as the Resident Evil HD remaster. We had that. We had Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4, which at the time was exclusive. It was so exclusive that I remember our friend Mikey, he had a Steelbook. It was a red GameStop exclusive Steelbook for Resident Evil 4. It came with like a picture of Leon. And also, you had all that on the GameCube. So you had 1 through 4 and Code Veronica.
Was Veronica? Oh, okay, yeah.
Code Veronica was also on the GameCube. So it was really interesting that, Nintendo at the time was very, very family friendly. People talk about today, like, oh, Nintendo's like a kiddie system. But, I mean, the Switch is a huge step up from what the GameCube was. So to have all those games on the GameCube was just, wow. That was insane.
And go back to Eternal Darkness for a moment. That's a game that so many people still love. And, like, it's still cool. Like, I went through, played it. Still, goes for... by the time I got it, I want to say it was still like $30, $40. This is quite a few years ago. But once again, though, that's almost like new game price. Like, to me, like, it could be a new game price. It is an older game. But if it's a good game, it's worth it. And it's still a game. We've had failed... Kickstarters, to make a follow-up to it. And it's still such a revered game. But seeing that, even before I realized that was like the first M-rated game, there was a game I had too called Geist.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was one I picked up for $5. It was after I had my Wii. And anytime I saw, a cool-looking GameCube game that I didn't have on anything else, I'd pick it up. And, actually, I didn't know Geist was an exclusive GameCube game. I just assumed it was on everything else. Wasn't
that like a first-person, kind of like Ghost-like shooter?
Yeah, it was Ghost. You got separated. You could possess people, animals, items. But it was also kind of a first-person shooter, so you had some, different elements mixed in. But it was actually the second M-rated game for Nintendo, So it's like you kind of had, I guess, those two, and then, of course, Resident Evil would be, M-rated. But, as much as like you said, it was known as kind of a kiddie system at times.
Yeah.
Like, it really wasn't. You had to jump out, because you got to remember, like I said, to me, this is still such an amazing time of having, GameCube, PS2, Xbox. You had 3 fully competing systems.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we look at the Series X and the PS5. Both are very similar consoles, where like the GameCube, the Xbox, and PS2 all had their own identity. And unfortunately, with the whole kiddie moniker thing with the GameCube, I think it all came down to like the design. Because when it first came out, it was in one color, I believe, and it was this indigo. And to see like this purple box compared to the sleek PS2 and the, really huge, massive Xbox. I mean, folks back then were looking at the GameCube like a Fisher-Price toy. And I'm like, no, it's actually really, really cool. And what was really interesting, too, was, this was 2001. And all the way to 2005, the video game market started going online. We started having Xbox Live. PS2 had, a network adapter. And GameCube was kind of behind on that as well. And I think that might have been another hindrance, because there were a couple of games that you could connect to a network, like Mario Kart Double Dash. You could, or I believe, yeah, it was just Mario Kart Double Dash. It's the only game I could think of, other than like maybe Phantasy Star Online, that you could go online and play with your friends. But Nintendo did something a little different. Nintendo, being Nintendo, thinking outside the box, decided to find a way to link your Game Boy Advance to your GameCube. And it was a very unique experience, because we had games like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I remember playing that with the Game Boy Advance, where you had like your own screen, and it was really fun. I remember playing that. Also, exclusive stuff with Animal Crossing, with the e-cards. You remember the e-card reader?
Oh, man.
Like, that was crazy stuff back then.
Even to Four Swords. Now, Four Swords is just a bonus. That's a bonus nowadays. That was its full-on game.
Yeah.
And that was another one you could, connect onto that. They really did. Like I said, it was an interesting time. And like I said, they foregoed the, DVD player. Whereas the other companies, Sony, Microsoft, they went in with it. Nintendo, they decided to focus on games. And we did have a cool, some accessories you mentioned with the GBA. They also had the GBA player,
which is amazing.
Still sought after.
Yeah.
To this day. And it's like one of the main things always missing is that disc when people try to look for it. And even though we kind of went out of like light guns, those kind of faded off. I
the
still thought
the freaking microphone for Odama on the GameCube. Oh my God! You guys that are listening want to play one of the most unique games on the GameCube. Get a copy of Odama and the microphone. It's like a samurai Shogun pinball machine game where you're using the microphone.
Mixed with real-time strategy.
It was so weird, but it was so Nintendo. That's the thing about it. So
it's
Nintendo.
Like, sadly, yeah, that was like one of the few that used that. But it was cool. Like when you got the game, it came with the microphone. It's just very awesome. And I'd say too, like I mentioned, like during this time of competition, people talk about exclusives. Now where sometimes you'll see, it's like, well, that one system, and PlayStation, seems to be kind of the king of more of the exclusives. But during this time, I was talking with Geist, how like that was only on GameCube. Not like that was like a huge game, but even with wrestling, we had 3 different series going on. And I've mentioned this before, and it's still one of the most amazing times, to me, because we had SmackDown on the PlayStation, you had Raw 1, 2, and WrestleMania 20, I believe it was, on the Xbox, and then GameCube. Also, they had WrestleMania 18. 19, and they had Day of Reckoning 1 and 2, and these were, like I said, exclusive, only on there. Like you could have all these systems, and if you're a wrestling fan, like you'd want to get all these games.
Now I'm going to ask you, James, because I didn't play a whole lot of wrestling games at this point. WCW had shut down, so I wasn't really into wrestling as much. So I'm going to ask you, were the GameCube game, like wrestling games, did they capture that feeling from the N64 golden times? I mean, were they?
No,
no, they didn't.
No,
okay.
Not for me. Interesting fact though, I looked up was like Ukes, and it was the first game they did for the GameCube. Was the I can't remember if Ukes actually started with the WrestleMania 18 or the Day of Reckoning. I won't say they did them all, but they actually had some developers from AKI come on board because even though Ukes was doing SmackDown, they wanted a different feel for the Nintendo series, and they did try to capture. And like when you read about the game, you'll see how it tried to have that play style of No Mercy and those games on the 64. To me, even when I play them now, and like I have all of them, which is cool. I managed to find them all like pretty cheap, and I'll pop one in, and it doesn't have that like, oh man, I know what the hell I'm doing right away. Whereas like the Japanese games on 64, I'd never played, and that was just like automatic. Oh man, I'm in it. Like I'm good. Like I said, they tried. They do have a slightly similar style, and I did enjoy some of the things they did. They'd have like some cool story modes. We started seeing more of those around that time. And the one on WrestleMania 19, they had this where you get fired pretty much, and you go back to Exact Revenge, and you're doing these really weird missions, like in warehouses, and there's something, I don't know, it's like a big frigate or something out in the ocean, and you're on this big contraption, which if you actually beat it during the story, and you're fighting construction workers and things like that, that's very weird.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
But you unlock this massive cage out in the middle of the ocean. And it's almost too big, but like you can have a 4-player fight in this cage, and you're all over the place. And it's still one of the best memories ever of because you could break away parts of the floor within this gigantic, and this has like 3-4 levels to this structure you can fight on. But we're on the bottom, and we were breaking away the cage, and I hit one friend with a power bomb right on top. It broke through. My other friend's knocked down carcass was also on the platform, and they both fell down into the ocean. And
that's so cool.
That's one of my favorite memories. I love fighting in this cage, but it's like it's bad because if you have this game and you want to unlock the cage just to play with your friends, it's very hard. The missions, because we'd have my one friend Mike, who always had the GameCube. He usually had to do most of the work because he's very, very good at games, even like the really hard stuff. And fighting these construction workers on these job sites in this wrestling game is very tough. And like I said, it sounds bad, but once you get the cage unlocked, it was great. But then it still had the normal, ladder matches, cage matches. But just to see so many different versions at that time, I miss that so much, because now it's just
WWE.
SmackDown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have SmackDown. We have a couple other, you always have Fire Pro. That was still great. And, we have the retro championship game coming out soon, or next year.
And then we also had the AEW game right around the horizon. Hopefully
we talked about that last time. So hopefully we'll see at least some different ones. But at that time, having 3 different WWE games was just insane. It's like, man, I don't think there'll ever be, another time quite like that.
Yeah, and one of the things too about the GameCube that really sticks out in my mind was this was the first console that we had a legit awesome first-party wireless controller, and I'm talking about the GameCube Wavebird. I remember, even though that controller didn't support Rumble, it was still like a must-have, and still a must-have for folks who still enjoy playing on the GameCube. That is something they always sought after, even with the Switch, because the Switch does have a GameCube adapter that was released with the Wii U with Smash. You can hook your GameCube controllers up to your Switch, and many folks are like, if I'm going to play Smash Brothers Ultimate, I want to play it with a Wavebird controller. The GameCube controller, it can be very subjective. I know some people weren't big fans of it. I really enjoyed it, other than the really small D-pad.
That was the tiniest D-pad.
And if you were playing games like Capcom versus SNK, the Millennium Edition or Part 2, I believe those were the ones that were on the GameCube. If you're playing those and you want to play with a D-pad, you're kind of shit out of luck, because that D-pad was it was tough, it was small, and it was really
being the king of the D-pad.
Exactly.
Originally, they really kind of failed on that.
They dropped the ball on that one. So I mean, other than that, I really enjoy the feeling of the GameCube. I love the 2 bumpers, how they kind of just sunk in. I like the fact that the B and the A button had their own feeling. Like, it was a very, very much a controller that you didn't have to look down to see what you were doing. Like, you knew exactly how to hold it and how to play it, and it worked out for so many games. Unfortunately, fighting games, not so much, which was really interesting, because we actually saw Link in Soul Calibur 2, and that's still like the version of Soul Calibur 2 that people enjoyed the most, even though they had Spawn on the Xbox and what was it, Hayashi on the PS2 version. Folks still really enjoyed the GameCube version for having Link, because that was really, really interesting to see a Nintendo first-party character in a Namco Bandai fighting game like that. That was wow.
Yeah, we got to have a few different exclusives like that. What was wasn't there another one that had like Yoda, Vader, and was that on another Soul Calibur game? I remember.
No, I think that was Star Wars Battlefront or Battlefield.
No, it was some kind of fighting game. I remember that,
might have been
Yoda. I thought it was a Soul Calibur.
It might have been.
Yeah, I could be. There's so many, but like I said, that was still the product of that time. Like, of having those different versions and those exclusive characters was really cool. Talking about the controller too, I know some people don't necessarily like the clickiness. Like, I'm not a fan of the clicks on the R and L, but still, if you get a good GameCube controller, it still feels so nice. And I would say too, being a controller fan, as far as the GBA attachment, Hori, I think, made the original, but there has been some knockoff, versions of it, which are still cool. But they did make a standalone controller for GBA games. That was
I used to have one of those.
Yeah, set up more like a Super NES style one.
Those are really sought after too.
He gave me one that, like I said, it's not the Hori one, but he gave me one. And it was I was really hoping, I was like, oh man, I'm going to play a GameCube game. And it's like, oh, damn it. It doesn't have the C-stick and stuff, and the sticks. But
that would
still
probably
really nice looking.
That would probably be a good alternative for the fighting games. come to think about it, because it did have a better D-pad. But I remember getting that controller back when I worked at Babbage's, and I remember buying it, and my coworkers being like, "Why are you getting that?" And I'm like, "I want to get it on the Game Boy player to play Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow, and Harmony of Dissonance, and Circle of the Moon." Because that was the way I played those games. I played it on the Game Boy player, and I used that controller, and it was perfect. It was wonderful.
Like, I almost wonder, like, if there's some way, and like, it's probably not, but it's like, I wonder if that one would like plug in, with the attachment, that you could use, if you could use it for anything else.
That would probably work. I don't see why it wouldn't work. That would be, oh man.
So, it would work if we want it to.
Whoever's listening, whoever's listening, we have an experiment for you guys. If you have the Hori or even the knockoff Game Boy Advance controllers for the GameCube, hook it up to your Switch. Tell us if it works. Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear that, because I'm really curious now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I have the attachment that went to the one that went to the Wii. I think with the Smash.
Yeah, that would work on the Switch.
So maybe I can try that out myself.
Yeah, try it
actually. And then see, because even if you could use that for like Super NES or the 8-bit games.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
It's not gonna work, man. It's too cool. It's not gonna work.
It was such a cool concept, though. I mean, but yeah, they had like little stuff like that, and I will say one of my biggest disappointments with the GameCube was the Mega Man collections. I love the Mega Man collections. I remember, man, people talk about Mega Man now like we always loved it. I remember I pre-ordered Mega Man X collections on the GameCube, and I was the only person in that whole store that pre-ordered it. Like,
you've been the only pre-order. I was the only pre-order for Shadowgate 64.
But I was the only one, and I remember, as much as I love those collections, as much as I love those games, the GameCube versions for some reason had the buttons switched. So like the B and the A button were switched from the original, and it was really, really tough to kind of get back into that groove. And that's really the only, when I think about the GameCube, that's really the only disappointment that I had with the console. Other than that, I mean, I loved, playing Pikmin, and even Star Fox Adventures is super underrated.
You gotta throw out Star Wars, man.
The
Rogue Squadron 2
yeah.
and 3.
Yeah, those were awesome.
Those were big, and it's like, Star Wars, you had more of the movies, out, and there was a resurgence in the games, and those were, exclusive to there. I had to throw out another favorite wrestling game of mine, which, man, I had a bid on eBay, and I didn't check my emails. It's like I put in a bid, and because it's what I would have got, but Ultimate Muscle on GameCube.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Everyone has those little pink, muscle figures. They had a slight resurgence with like a cartoon. You had a few games, and AKI. This was the continuance. AKI kind of disappeared after the 64, and Ukes took over. But AKI did Ultimate Muscle, and they also, took over. They did the Def Jam games, which were also available on GameCube, and they were available on every system at that time. But Ultimate Muscle was only on GameCube. And they did have another muscle game on PS2. It's not as good. But the only reason these games are good is because AKI did them. Now, it's somehow, it's so comical, and it just has a different feel overall, but it still kind of plays to me. That gave me a little bit more semblance to those 64 games. And it's like, if you're a fan of the 64 games, you played Ultimate Muscle, like, you'll probably get what I'm saying. But like, if you just grab Ultimate Muscle, you might be like, the hell are you talking about? You kind of had to go from playing one into the other, like, I think, to fully get it. But cell shading, that was a big thing, and quite a few games around that time. And it had the cell shade graphics, which just gave it that ultimate cartoony look, and it played good. It was so over the top and weird, but it still had a great feel to it. And I used to watch the cartoon. They used to have the Saturday morning cartooning on Fox TV or Fox Kids TV. I used to watch that, and you mentioned Ultimate Muscle. I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that game. That game's like really sought after now, though. Well,
it's rare.
Disc only can go 60, 70. Actually, I had a complete one on bid. It ended up selling, I think, for like $60 maybe. And it was like, that was the bad thing, is just I didn't check my emails. Like, I could have got it. because I was just like, I don't bid hardly on anything on eBay, and I was just like, I bid on this, and like I said, I forgot about it. I could have got this damn thing because I had a price in my mind. It was like, I will pay up to that much, because I would love to have it again, because it's like kind of like lost in time.
Well,
like I said, PS2 one definitely it's fun, but it's not as good, and also it lost that cell shade graphics. It just had more of a regular like 3D look, and it just didn't. It's just kind of like ugly looking, like to me. But that cell shade on that game was so awesome.
Well, I was about to say now, James, when you get a Series X,
I can play it.
You can play it because it plays GameCube games. I do have Ultimate Muscle on my modded Wii U. I do have that game, and yeah, it was really, really good. And trying to think of some other interesting GameCube moments. I mean, they had all the different colors. The platinum, the black, the indigo. They also had that weird spice orange kind of look that I actually really liked for some reason. I liked it.
Hey, did you ever play with the thinking of accessories and such? You ever play with Donkey Konga?
Yes.
Like the bongo drums?
Yes. I remember, oh god. I kind of got turned off on that game though, because we did, at the time I was working at Babbage's, we did have a Donkey Konga kiosk. And that kind of turned me off because, kids would just randomly come in and just go full John Bonham on the bongos and then run out of the store when their parents would be like, what the hell are you doing in here?
We did get, and they ended up on the Wii later, but lots of fun Mario sports games. We had like really great Mario Golf, Mario Baseball, the soccer game.
Yeah, I was about to say the Strikers, the soccer game was, oh my god, that was a really good one.
And one I thought was pretty interesting. I actually never played this one, but it was called Road Trip Arcade. It's part of the, I don't know, it's Choro Q. It was a line of toy cars in Japan. This game was also on the PS2 as Road Trip Adventure. I kind of put it, I don't know, like Beetle Adventure Racing is such a fun game. And it's not quite up there with that, but it's this odd mixture of kind of like I don't know if GTA is the right word, but these cars are very interactive. Like you had like little missions, and
that's
so you'd
cool.
end up doing races. You'd interact with other cars. They all kind of talk to each other, and you'd take on side quests. So it's very kind of an open world race game, but all based around it. Kind of what I'd call these little like penny racer cars. They were ones like you pulled back and they run forward. That was the actual toy these games were based on. But the series came out. The Road Trip Arcade had weapons. So and like I said, I didn't play this one, but I'm thinking maybe they tried to incorporate a little bit more battle car like
that was
action.
because that was big at the time. The combat racing games.
Did that, but it was the one on PS2 was it was one of those $12 games that you could still find back then, and you're kind of like, what is this? $20? I'll try it out. It's very kind of like cutesy game, but very calm. It was one of the I have good memories of playing that one. It was just a very kind of like chill game, kind of to me on the level like a Katamari. It had some good music in the background, and you could just kind of relax and play it, and there wasn't really anything that would stress you out too much. Though racing games can be a little bit stressful, but like I said, that was definitely a fun one. Like I said, I learned that one was only on GameCube, and it's one I was like, I might try to well, maybe I'll emulate it if I get the Xbox, or maybe I'll try to buy the disc and play it on my Wii.
Indeed, and because we're running short on time. I will say, the folks that are listening, if you have a GameCube memory, be sure to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys, and you can leave a comment on my Twitter as well. You can follow me on Twitter at XS Gaming Podcast on Twitter, and now we're going to get into games we've been playing. My list is kind of short, James, because it's just been very, very busy. When I do have free time, I've been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm on chapter 5, and I'm already 17, 18 hours into it. I just got to the point where you have to do the management mini game.
Yeah.
And that's been taking a lot of my time. I'll say this, the management system at first is kind of hard to follow, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. Like, cause
I guess it's kind of like the Hostess Bar thing.
yeah,
Zero.
yeah, it's kind of like one of those things. Like, you know, they make you play it at first, like you have to do it to progress through the game, and you're just kind of like, oh. But once you get the hang of it, you're just like, oh man, I want to go back and play that. Also, doing the hero missions, you have like this hero thing that you work for this guy and you do various things around the town, rather it's saving somebody or helping someone out. Been doing that, and you get all sorts of, you know, loot and prizes, and so that's been taking a lot of my time. And it's kind of nice because I was reading a guide because I was wanting to see how long Chapter 5 was, and I went on the guide, and they're like, yeah, you know, after you're done with this and you go to Chapter 6, make sure you're on, you know, level 17 at least, because Chapter 6 you're going to go through all the... I'm like, wow, I'm already on level 24 right now. So I've just been grinding and playing it. Such a great game. James, have you had a chance to really dive into Like a Dragon lately?
No, I honestly have not played it since the last episode. I actually have not played anything in between work going on, and just it's when I get home, like I've literally been watching like Bob's Burgers, and I finally gave in, and I started because right before December hit, like if we were watching through a series, like a Christmas episode would come on, I'd be like, ugh, no, I'm like, I can't do it. But I finally gave in because my wife was watching The Office, because we have shows we watch together, and then there'll be things we watch, you know, if someone's not there. And there was a Christmas episode of The Office, and it kind of caught me. And I went back and watched that, and then I watched some Christmas episodes of Bob's Burgers. I watched a Christmas episode of Step by Step. Anybody remembers that?
Oh Lord!
Fucking show.
Fucking roller coasters.
Hulu has a section where you can just pick out, you know, Christmas episodes. I did this before. Like I'd watched like Home Improvement Christmas episodes, but if I can find you know, like a Christmas episode of some old show, like I'll end up watching it, and that's mostly been what I'm watching. And I have a couple ones like I probably gonna end up, you know, watching like Krampus. That was I finally saw that like a year or so ago, and I try to get into. I kind of have to dive into the Christmas spirit, or else it's just like it gets me. I'm sure I'll end up watching the you know, Peanuts at some point, and hopefully like once Christmas is over I can get back to playing some games again, but it's been really brutal. So as soon as I get off work, it's like hang out with my wife and we'll just like watch something,
kind of just decompress a little bit.
Yeah,
because I mean, even playing video games, I mean, that's a great stress reliever, but sometimes you just got to be in the mood to play video games. I think everyone, including yourself and whoever's listening, like sometimes you just gotta be in the game mood in order to play games. At least that's how it is for me. Like I mentioned that I played about 18 hours so far of Like a Dragon, but that's since the game came out, since the 10th. I haven't had, you know, a whole lot of time.
November.
Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of time to sit.
Later almost.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time to sit down and just play the hell out of it. So when I do, I've actually been like scheduling myself to have those days where I just sit there and just play Like a Dragon. Like last Friday, my girlfriend was at work. I was at the house by myself, and I'm like, okay, I got nothing else to do. I'm going to play Like a Dragon, you know, once I was done with everything around the house. And other than that, I mean, I've been playing, you know, Mario 35, because that's a game that me and Kimberly can just pick up and play, and we put down. That's almost like our nightly ritual now. Before we go to sleep, we both get our Switches out and play Mario 35. But, I mean, other than that, the other game I've been playing a little bit because I've been wanting to get a little bit more in the Christmas spirit is playing an RPG I've never played before, and that was Parasite Eve. I started playing Parasite Eve on my tablet. I've never played it before, and you know what? It's aged really well. I was like, wow, this is actually not a bad game. And, of course, I mean, it's Parasite Eve, but, you know, hearing about the game and then going and playing it years later can be two different things right there. Because sometimes games don't age too well, and as a new player, you're kind of like, oh, I was kind of worried that it would have like the tank controls and all that, and it doesn't, which I was really happy with. The fighting system is very snappy. It's very, you know, reminiscent of like a turn-based Resident Evil, and it's not a long game. I'm actually working on a video right now of talking about short JRPGs, because I think a lot of folks that love JRPGs right now may not have the time to play them, or maybe they've always wanted to play JRPGs but kind of felt a little apprehensive or over-intimidated by, like, oh, yeah, this game's awesome. It's 300 hours plus. I mean, I hear a game that's 300 hours plus, I don't want to touch it. You know? Yeah,
I'm like, that was like one of my, and going back, and like, I wish there was like a Christmas version, because that's still one of my favorite ones. And, you know, over time I've kind of grown. Like, RPGs are tough for me, but like Costume Quest,
yeah,
was still, oh man, dude, I love that one so much. To have some repetitiveness to it. But sometimes it's like, man, that would be great to have like a Christmas version of Costume Quest to sit back and play, because it was so, it like, to me, it grabbed all that stuff, but it was short. You know, it's like you went there for 3,000 hours.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kimberly and I overslept, because what we were planning on doing, because today was her birthday, so I was like, oh, before you go into work, we got to go on your Animal Crossing and see what the villagers do, because they celebrate your birthday. And we unfortunately we missed our alarm, and we woke up at like 30 minutes before she had to get ready for work, so she had to run out of the house. And I'm like, oh man, I just now remembered that.
You slept in like Kevin McAllister's parents.
The only thing that woke us up was our upstairs neighbor was like thumping something. It sounded like she was dancing on clogs. And I remember my alarm went off at like 9:30. And I hit snooze, but I accidentally hit the wrong snooze, and I fell back asleep, and I woke up hearing this thumping, and I looked at the clock, and I'm like, honey, it's 10:15. She's like, you're kidding. I'm like, no. And it was the best alarm we ever had, because both of us woke up wide-eyed and bushy-tailed because we were in a panic trying to get ready for work and stuff. But
it was just like Home Alone.
It really was. It missed all it needed was the music in the background. That's all it needed. But yeah, I think this concludes another episode of XS Gaming Podcast, and hopefully, I'm going to hit up Ryan very soon, because we're going to be working on some sort of Christmas episode before this month's over. Whether it's talking about Christmas or just having fun, but we got to get Ryan on and hopefully talk about Outrage. That's what I really want to do. Maybe have like a Yakuza gangster mafia Christmas episode.
Yeah, that could be very cool.
I mean, Yakuza 5 does take place during Christmas.
Yeah.
It is a Christmas
That was
game.
so great, man. I probably need to go play Yakuza 5. Just run around during Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
It made me feel better back then.
seeing the Christmas lights in Komarocho.
That was great.
Indeed. And again, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review, leave us a rating on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify. Also, if you want to listen to archived episodes, or if you want to hear more about what I've been playing, because I did release a new episode of Play and Tell, you can check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Xander Skullion. And also, you can follow me on Twitter at XS Gaming Podcast. And lastly, if you want to join our XS Gaming Podcast Facebook group page, go on facebook.com/groups/XS Gaming Podcast. Anyway, guys, hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, and play Road Trip Arcade or something.
And watch Outrage.
Yes, that's it.
We gotta add that in there.